Hello everybody. Our project today will be making two side tables for outside or inside. If you have a den and you want something a little rustic, I'm going to try and get two tables out of a wine barrel. The wine barrels, this one is 35 inches high, so I want the tables to be 17.5 inches high. So the first thing I want to do is take off the rings. And when you're doing a project like this, you really need to have two rings, a ring in the top and a ring down about 6 or 7 inches from the top. So I'm taking off the rings, and careful not to take off the top ones. You want to make sure that they're secured. If they come off, then all your barrel staves will come apart, and then you'll be rebuilding a big barrel. So once I've got the rings off and make sure that the top ones, I had a couple of screws in them, I'm just giving a sand. This is a 8-inch soft foam air sander, and it works good on the curvature of the barrel and stuff. So what I've started is with a 60 grit, and I'll just run over that quickly and end up with about 120. I've used I ran over everything first with a belt sander, and then I've used this. At this point, I'm not trying to get it really smooth. I'm just trying to even it out, and I don't have to worry about getting rid of the marks from the hoops, because they'll be going back on in the same position. So it's a beautiful day today. It's November, but it's a nice day to do the sanding outside. You know, get that fine dust all over the place. So here we are inside the shop. So I found out the easiest way, because we want 4 legs. So I just took some cardboard and went from corner to corner to make sure that it was square. And I put it on some foam to bring it up at the top. I've just measured to the edge so that I can figure out my cardboard size. And this will give me the center marks of the legs. So what I'll do is I'll just put some tape around the outside edge, because I don't want to use a marker on the metal. I have to get it off, so we'll just tape it up, and it gives a nice clear mark. And so what I'm looking for is I don't want the legs to be on a small stave, so I'm going to look around and make sure that the legs will be on a wide stave. On a lot of these barrels, you'll find that you'll see one right in the front there. There's some of the staves that are only 3/4 of an inch wide or an inch wide. You don't really want that on a vertical leg. So I'm trying to find all the big ones, and if I can't find one big enough, what I'll do is divide it in the center. So I've moved that around until I've found the placement that I want. And then I'll just take that off, and these are my center marks, and I'm just marking down my 17.5 inches. And so what I've done is I cut a piece of cardboard, and the length I want it. It's 4 inches wide. The legs are going to be 4 inches wide, and I've just fastened it on the top with a bit of tape, and then put it on the vertical barrel. And you can see I have a laser, so I'm just using my laser to make sure that the lines are straight up and down. There's a better shot of it. So I put a vertical line down at 2 inches. And before I get to the rest of the placement and cutting out, so what I'm using here is subfloor adhesive, and this is polyurethane, so it's moisture cured. So if your barrels have been outside and there's a little bit of moisture on them, you don't have to worry about them. And I'll put this on the inside as well, but I'll fasten the staves from falling out at the top. It dries rather quick too. It'll dry in about 3 hours. But just make sure that you get, if you're going to do one of these projects, make sure that you get the polyurethane subfloor adhesive, not the latex. It's only about $11 or $12 a tube. So here I am just marking them out, and there's the center line for the other one that's coming down. Put a big X on the leg. so I know not to cut that out. And now I have to make a mark. So I want to drop about, I dropped 1.75 inches below the hoops, because you need 2 hoops. You need the top one and the secondary one to hold the staves in. So I've just drawn a line all the way along, and I found this was easy, so I just cut it in a piece of 1/4 inch by 2-inch board and put a stop block on one end, and I'll just run that all the way along. And now on the top of the legs, I just don't want to go square in the corners. I want to put a 8-inch radius. I'm just measuring out the radius that looks the nicest, and I decided that I'm going to go with 8-inch. So cardboard again. I use a lot of cardboard on this project. What's nice about the cardboard on a barrel, you can manipulate it and move it around, so it can follow the curvature. If you were to use a piece of plywood or something, you'd be fighting with it, and the cardboard just bends quite well, and it's rigid and easy to cut. So I'll do that on all the tops of the legs, all the way around. And I encourage you to, like I said, if you're going to do one of these projects, what I found is I'll completely draw everything out. All the cutouts, all the curvatures, all the drop lines, everything that I need before I start to take any of the wood out of it at all. So I'll just follow this all the way around and make all these. And I didn't want to use a Sharpie on this because the Sharpies will stain the wood, but there you can see all the cutouts. So there's the leg coming down. So for the top of the hoop to the center there is 17.5 inches. So these are side tables. So when you're outside, now that I've got them all cut. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to cut out the one. So this is along between 2 legs, top and the bottom. And thanks a lot for viewing this video, and please subscribe so we can keep bringing more videos to you. So once I did that one cutout, now I'm gonna put on the hoops, and I'll hammer that all the way down and make sure that it's parallel to the top. Once it's parallel, I'll start putting some set screws in it. And at this point, I'll just put in 2 or 3 just to set it in, and then I'll put it back on the cradle. You can see I've had these barrels on a cradle that I made. And I showed a video on us making a cradle and doing some other barrel projects. If you like this kind of work, on our channel, we have a bunch of barrel projects. We have barrel bars and tables and a cooler that came out really nice with an epoxy top. So I'm just going along with a center punch, and I'll punch the hoops all the way around. You notice there's not one in the center. We won't be using the center hoop at all. Just the top one, and then the one just below it. Got all my screws in, and I usually like using a hex screw, but the supplier that I buy my product from was all out, and he doesn't know where he's going to come in, so I'm using a number 10 by 1 inch with a self-drilling bit on the screw, so it's a number 10 by 1 inch, and then I'm putting a few on top. And I've drilled a pilot hole, and I'll continue to cut these all out. And hang on to this old oak is quite hard. You really need a sharp blade. And I was having problems with smoking and with residue buildup on it. So, and we got lots of wood for future projects coming up. Those oak staves are like gold. And here you can see that I'm using a wire brush to take off the residue that I'm getting on the blade, and then I'm coating it with paraffin wax just giving it a really good coat while the blade's nice and hot, fill the teeth. And that made all the difference in the world, and it just went right through this. It only took one blade to do all these cutouts, and but cleaned it about every 5 or 10 minutes. There you go. And there's a lot of tension on this wood, so whenever I was cutting them in half, the wood does grab because it springs together. But I opted not to use a skill saw. I guess I could have used a hand saw or a Japanese saw. I had the jigsaw in hand and it did a good job. There it is. There's the two halves. You can see the and they sit perfectly on the floor. I was surprised. I was expecting to do some leg leveling, but they came out perfect. As you can see, there's no rocking to them. They've sat flat. And I just followed the top hoop all the way along for my marks. And now what I'm going to do is turn them over, and I want to put another caulking bead on the inside as well with the polyurethane subfloor glue. I'll follow that all the way along. And what I'll do is lock in the top. And I plan on doing some other work to these in a near video. We're going to put an epoxy top on them and add some color to them. And this is a detail air sander. I've done a lot of work on barrels, and I found this tool is indispensable. What I've done is I've taken the top guard off, so I'm not recommending that. I'm just showing you what I did, and that's so that I can get flex on the belt. So I'm actually using the back side of it, but there's no plate on it, so I can get some flex on the belt, and I can get a nice curvature on it. So it'll give me a nice Eris edge. And I've tried using a router and all other kinds of tools, but this works good. And here it is. I'm using the back side of the tool as well again, with the guard removed, and it will follow the curvature of the barrel. And these detail sanders are quite nice. I have an electric one as well, but it's a bit bulky. I like the air model. If you are thinking about getting an air model, just make sure that you have lots of volume in your air system. They're air hungry, just like the sanders. I have a commercial shop, so we have a great big tank compressor, so we don't have a problem with the air. But I'll just follow all the way along, and we'll Eris and smooth out all the edges and the bottom of the feet and the corner, so when it's moving around, it's not going to knock off any wood. And I'm very careful not to over sand it. I don't want to take all the years of patina off of it. I want to see a bit of the scarring and the color in the wood. So here we're just spraying on this is a sanding sealer. And once the sanding sealer goes on, then I'll give it a hand sand. And this will seal up all the grain for the other coats of that will be going on. So like I said, this is a sanding sealer, and there you can see all the different colors of the oak and everything. And they're good and solid and flat. So that's a 4-inch leg on the bottom, and I've dropped down an inch below the band there, as you can see. And I've got the rest of the screws in now. And these came out really nice. They're a nice size. They'd be great for the summer months beside an Adirondack chair. And I do plan on doing some more work to these in the future. I'm going to add some color to them and probably go with a epoxy top on them. I'm actually looking for something to put on the top, and I'll embed that in epoxy. So if you enjoy these videos, which I hope you have, please say so and subscribe. And if you're interested in a lot of this barrel work and stuff, we have quite a few projects done in barrels. So see you next time. Thanks a lot again.